Good afternoon and welcome back to Chamber South's weekly spotlight with our partners at Miami Community Newspapers. My name is Brittnie Bassant and I'm the Executive Director for Chamber South, and I am so thrilled to have with me today Mr. Jorge Fernandez-Pla with KW Commercial. George, welcome.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you. So I start all of my interviews by just learning a little bit about the person that I'm interviewing. So I want to know about you. I want to know about your previous experience, your background, your career, education. How did you get to where you're at now with KW Commercial as a commercial real estate agent?
How did I get to where I am? Wow.
Take your time. It's probably a long story.
There was a transition from the finance world over then to development, and then it was another transition into real estate itself, the sales and investments. And that happened when the last downturn, 2006, 2008, somewhere in there. And then when that kind of ended the market, then from there got into the real estate, started doing the investments with the people. Again, it was an easy transition in that sense. And having lived here all pretty much my whole life, except for a few years in the military where I kind of went to a few different places, but everything local.
Oh my God, wait, hang on. Let's rewind a little bit because I didn't know this. Okay, so Miami guy, born and raised in Miami,
born and raised.
Okay, born and raised in Miami. And then you were in the military?
In the military, Army Reserve.
Okay, so first and foremost, thank you for your service, as we should say to all of our active and veteran service members. So what branch were you in? Army Reserve. Army Reserve. Okay, wonderful. So tell me a little bit about that. Like where did you go there?
That was a bunch of places for training. Obviously there was Georgia, other places in Florida, more places in Georgia, California, and Massachusetts, just different places, different trainings. The only significant thing was Desert Shield, Desert Storm. So,
okay, I was going to ask, were you stateside the whole time, but you did do tours?
It was stateside. I didn't actually go across. We were scheduled to go across over into the Iraq, Kuwait front, whatever was happening there. It ended before we got out there. So I was very lucky, very fortunate.
Very, very much so. I did not know that about you. See, you always learn something new in these interviews. Okay, so going back into commercial real estate, which is what we're here to talk about. So you were born and raised in Miami. Where did you go to school? Did you go to school here?
Southwest High School. Okay. And then from there to Miami-Dade and then FIU. And during that transition period, I decided to go back and get my MBA, and did that at FIU as well.
Wonderful. So how long have you been with not just with KW Commercial, but in commercial real estate?
That was going back to about 2004 when we started doing the condo conversions and the development. And again, that's a few years later, the transition, the morph into commercial real estate, the license selling.
Wow. Very, very, very cool. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about Chamber South, because I know that you're an active member of Chamber South. Not only is he a member of Chamber South, but George serves on our board of directors and is a trustee member of the Chamber. So tell me a little bit about your experience with Chamber South.
Well, that's very near and dear to my heart. So that was an interesting story because before the commercial real estate world, I had a member of BNI, and I met some people there, very good friends, relationships that are still going on today. And one of them, Carol Alexander, former chairman, when she was going to become the chairman, she calls up a bunch of friends and she said, "Hey, I need support. I need you to join the chamber." And I think that was about 2009. 10, somewhere around there. Anyway, and I've been here ever since.
Wow. And so what's the difference in your words? Because I did mention that you're a trustee member of the chamber. So we have different levels of our membership. We have, your standard business member, and then we do have trustee members, and it's a heavier investment into the organization. But what have you found to be beneficial from that?
Well, again, it's the relationships at the trustee level. Again, there's a I don't want to say a different level, but that's all I can think of. I mean, in that sense, there's just different companies, different people that are very caring about and concerned about the chamber itself, what's happening, staying involved, a little bit more involvement in terms of, again, just helping out the chamber and the people around the chamber as much as possible. So it was a good transition because I actually started out as a regular member, and here I'm a trustee now.
That's wonderful. And we really appreciate that. Trustee members are pillars in our community that recognize the value that the chamber provides to the community, and they support that on a higher level. So to all of our trustee members, we say thank you. So moving forward, commercial real estate and the past, I think at this point it's 13 months. If we, take it to March of last year, how has that world changed? with
Wow.
what we're going through in the pandemic?
There are, I like to think of real estate as kind of like a stock, in the sense that it's, whether it's, there, things are going up, things are going down. There's always people buying, there's always people selling. And in the commercial world, there's lots of different property types. It could be an office, it could be an apartment building, it could be land for development, could be many different things. And some pieces are going really well, other pieces are not going as well. And then we live in a very micro economy for being in Miami, where Miami and Florida in general are not the same thing that's happening in the rest of the nation, where the rest of the nation is having its what they consider a shift in the market, part of the cycles. We're not seeing that cycle. Florida continues to grow. Our traffic continues to grow. It's not getting any better. So again, we just have a ton of people moving into the South Florida region, from everywhere. And it's happening, not only at the commercial level, but also at the residential level. So again, it's very interesting to see. And again, I'm being tied to Keller Williams. KW Commercial is the commercial division of Keller Williams. So we have a very good understanding of the residential world, whereas like condos were suffering throughout the whole, COVID thing up until recently. People were just, they didn't want to be in their condominiums. They wanted bigger houses. They wanted to move out away from the city because of all the restrictions and limitations. And it's very similar in the commercial world. So,
so let's talk. So it is similar in the commercial world. People are looking for bigger spaces and more space, or just moving to a different geographic location?
You've got both.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, because I want to talk about that. And I'm really, really curious to know, because I know a lot, unfortunately, with the past 12 months and what's happened with the pandemic, there has been a lot of small businesses that have suffered. A lot of places have closed their doors. A lot of organizations and companies are moving to this. We've discovered now that we can work from home and we can work remote, and that's something that we can offer to our employees. So I was under the impression, forgive me if I'm wrong, but there's been a lot of downsizing in terms of the commercial real estate world. But I'm really curious to hear your experience with this.
Okay, so the office sector is definitely struggling. There's a lot going on there. Like you said, everybody's going back to the house. They're working, more from home, which is part of the push from people leaving their condos, finding bigger houses.
Right.
So it all relates.
So a decrease in commercial real estate is leading to an increase in residential real estate?
Partially.
To a degree, okay.
Partially, but the office sector is definitely struggling. However, we're starting to see more and more people leaving New York, leaving Chicago, leaving, places up north. Multiple reasons. First, they like the weather down here, which they always have. And second, they're finding, no state tax for Florida. So that's a huge thing. Right now, we've seen probably a significant increase in out-of-staters. As a matter of fact, we just finished closing on an office deal in downtown in the Brickell area, which is struggling, but yet there's some New Yorkers decided it was good for their business. They got a pretty good deal out there. Retail, we know that these restaurants were struggling. Many of them, we saw Miracle Mile, our office is right down the street. So we saw many, restaurants that were struggling. Somehow they've managed to survive. The bulk of them, they're still there. They're still in place, which is great. And we've seen now we're starting to see a demand for people wanting restaurant space. There's just not a lot of them. So,
and in terms of them wanting restaurant space, are we looking at this, like your traditional restaurant concepts that we know, or are they adapting and evolving as well too, and opting for smaller restaurant spaces and focusing more on, because I know a lot, like you said we live in a microeconomy, but we also live in a digital age now where everything's online. So instead of, especially with the past 12 months, going out to eat and, physically sitting in a restaurant, are we seeing smaller spaces, or are they still traditional to what we know?
It's a combination, because now there's a lot more outdoor seating.
Right.
Coral Gables has accommodated a lot of those. South Beach, a lot of the places where they've provided the parking spaces. I mean, I see it all up and down in my neighborhood, Coral Gables, where now people are eating in the parking lots where they've sectioned off or cordoned off a piece for the dining area. So that's on the restaurant. We have other clients that are. Two clients that service the food industry, some that service the restaurants and those that service the grocery stores. And the ones that service the restaurants did struggle for the past year. Their businesses went down. The ones, however, again, you can see how everything is tied. So there's still people need food. So if they weren't eating at the restaurant, where were they eating? They were eating at home. That meant that Publix and Whole Foods and Milan's and all of those, their supplies were just flying off the shelf. and we service some of the people that do the food distribution. And again, they're just growing leaps and bounds, and they're again looking to expand their business. Anybody that's in logistics and servicing any one of these types of businesses, again, looking for more space to work their business. So it's a combination. Fortunately, a lot of the small businesses that work in the industrial sector are what we call essential. So again, they weren't completely affected. They've been out there, they've been hustling and doing their thing, and a lot have been maintaining, but some have been growing.
That's very encouraging to hear. It's amazing. And again, I would have thought the opposite, but that's incredible to hear. So what about retail? What about brick and mortar retail? What trends are you seeing now? And what would you say you would predict, if you will, for the future of brick and mortar retail?
Well, retail is, I think, one of the most resilient and the most dynamic property types, because it can be so many different things. Well, we have members on the board that are represent some of those people. And again, I've had those discussions, and it's exactly that, where you may have someone that was, again, may have been just a regular store for clothing. And now maybe they're servicing food. They can have, repair stations. The sit and dine for movie, but I saw some of those closed down.
So you're saying that they're becoming hybrids, like hybrid locations?
Well, they can be anything else. They can
add additional services into what they already have as their retail concept to increase foot traffic and increase visibility.
I mean, we didn't see a lot of the big boxes were shut down years ago, the big stores, big name stores, because their footprint was really big. And what did they do? They converted it to a movie theater, to a bowling alley, all sorts of different.
Seems like entertainment, right, is a big one.
Yes.
Like entertainment venues. So we talked about like the restaurant industry, we talked about the retail industry, and then entertainment, because it's all commercial real estate,
yes.
right? So which arena would you say is the most dynamic or the fastest growing right now?
Oh, the fastest growing? Well, that's a tough one.
Well, it's in your opinion. This is not like, gospel word. This is your opinion. Which one would you say, in your experience and the trends that you've seen, would be the fastest growing industry?
I think that they're all growing. Actually, I take that back. The industrial sector is having an issue, like they have in so many places. New York has struggled with this. Chicago struggled with this, and now we're starting to see it. And I'm referring to areas like Wynwood, the Design District, and other, Allapattah, where we have a very high concentration of industrial properties, and they're being knocked down and redeveloped as, all these wonderful facilities that we have. Now there's the River Landing. There's another one coming up in probably a few miles from that one that's slated to go into construction as well. And like that, the one there's many. So we're losing that space, the industrial space, and we need more of it.
And so there's a demand for it.
There's a high demand for it.
Okay, so are we seeing that move further south or to different parts of the county? Because Chamber South and other chambers of commerce, including the SouthDade Chamber of Commerce, represent the SouthDade area. And that's something that I know that the SouthDade area has struggled with in terms of how do we attract more businesses to SouthDade. So do you see that demand moving more south?
There's a possibility, because we do have, there's a large sector of land, I want to say, I guess, between the Southland Mall area and getting into Homestead, Naranja, Goulds. There's a lot of land out there, but again, there's things beginning to happen down there, which is not in the industrial sector. Again, the need for more businesses also creates the need for more housing. So that's what we're seeing. So there's just more and more housing going up. It's endless, the number of cranes I can see from my building, whether it's downtown or Coconut Grove or South, whatever. There's just, it's everywhere.
And we're always building up now.
Yeah.
We can't build out, so we got to go up now.
Correct.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we talked a lot about KW Commercial and just Keller Williams as a whole. So tell me a little bit more about your organization and what your specialty is, yours and KW, because it's a very large organization. You have multiple divisions, departments. There we go. You have the residential side. You're on the commercial side. Give me a little bit of breakdown about KW.
Keller Williams was a very interesting concept, kind of what got me into it. They were one of the fastest growing residential companies at the time. Now they are the largest by all. There's a total agent count, total volume count, total transaction count. About four years ago, they took all three of those. So they're about close to 200,000 agents nationwide, over 800 offices. Now they're in approximately 50 different countries outside of the U.S.
Wow.
So they're growing leaps and bounds. And right around the time they started the commercial division, I was getting into it. So we're really using the platform to help us grow to the next level, which has been our whole trajectory, our business plan since the beginning. So now we're looking to expand into the counties, eastern counties. So hopefully it'll be Broward and Palm Beach within the next year, where we're servicing those, at least my team anyway.
Do you service Monroe?
We don't.
You don't. Okay, so you're going to expand northwards in terms
We're going
of
to go
Broward.
north.
Okay,
correct.
Perfect. Okay, so right now your team is in Miami-Dade County.
Correct.
And what's your specialty?
Our specialty, it's strange because I morphed again on that one. I started when I came in as a multifamily specialist, an investment specialist, and along the way we started seeing more of the need for industrial. It kind of like happened by accident, but we got into that world. So it's more office and industrial properties, but we understand the investment aspect of it. For a little bit different than the owner user, the person who's buying it, because he's got the income potential from the tenants that are there.
Wonderful. That's quite a lot, George. It's a lot of information that you're giving me. So let's talk specifically to our Chamber South members, which are a lot of small businesses, especially in the SouthDade area. What opportunities does KW have for small businesses in SouthDade? Why should they reach out to you? Why should they be doing business with you? Just give me that pitch.
Well, we started with the small businesses, and that's still kind of like our the backbone of our business, working with the small businesses. Again, I would say probably 90% of the people that we've worked with in the past have been small businesses, and it really is knowing how to work, how to help them out, understanding their business. And it's interesting because you get to know the business, but you really get to know the person individually, personally, and understand their business and help them grow it, because that's part of the plan, understanding what their business is, how they're going to grow, and then how we can help them in the process, whether it's, setting them up as a first-time lease, or helping them purchase their first building, or it could be someone that's been in business for many years and now they want to continue to grow along the way. So it really is all about small businesses. Not to say that we don't handle the larger, we don't handle the institutional, but we do handle the larger businesses.
Well, of course, I mean, equal opportunity for everyone. But yes, from signing that first lease to purchasing the first building, there's opportunities for all of our small business members to engage with KW Commercial. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I think we're getting ready to wrap up, unless there's anything. Is there any special projects that are going on? Is there any special news that you want to share? If not, we're getting ready to wrap up. But I always ask for just that elevator pitch.
The elevator pitch?
Yes, like the essence of your organization and why someone should do business with you.
Wow. If you need help, if you're looking to grow, if you're looking to get established in the South Florida area, we can help you find that property that's right for you.
Awesome. That's a really easy one, and it's very direct and to the point. So before we completely wrap up today, as I'm sure I'm looking at this camera, I'm still figuring out cameras here. But as we wrap up today, I'm sure many of you are aware that today is Take Your Child to Work Day in Miami-Dade County. So we have a helper here in our studio. He's been our associate producer, handling our camera work and all of our AV equipment. So Jaden, if you want to come on up. Big kudos to Jaden for helping us out today. Jaden, did you have fun with the camera equipment?
Yes, I did.
You did? Wonderful. And are you going to maybe look at a career in film and production? Yes? Okay, wonderful. Well, Jaden did a great job, and we're so grateful to him for being here and helping us out. And George, grateful to you for being on the show. Thank you so much. And that's a wrap for our show today. Be sure to tune in every Thursday for our weekly Chamber Spotlight with our partners here at Miami Community Newspapers. Thanks, and have